I have to be honest, this is the week I've been waiting for all month.
Many times a day
So powerful. We create these amazing stories,
do we talk ourselves out of doing something?
and sometimes we create not so amazing stories.
Standing here and doing nothing is just as exposing as going and failing.
But the tool of the week? Well, that's kind of my thing. Welcome to this week's episode of Truth Be Told. Now this week, our theme is the stories that we tell ourselves. We're asking ourselves what goes on inside our head, and why does that matter? Now, something I wanted to talk about in this opening, it's a subject that goes hand in hand with it. And what I am bringing up is asking the question, what really matters? Now, for me, and this just might be me, but maybe it applies to you. If it does, then great. Now, what I want to look at myself is asking the question, what's really important? Now, I'm going to use an example of a relationship. Now, when we're in a difficulty, maybe having an argument with a significant other, we are encouraged to ask this question, do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? And that's important to ask because really, sometimes it comes right down to that. And what I find with myself, when I am insisting on being right, it's because I'm telling myself a story in my head. And now I'm demanding that my partner sees the story in the same way that I do. And that's usually impossible because we perceive things differently. And one other thing that matters is asking what is really important right now. Because when I'm honest with myself and I'm able to step back and get out of my emotional state, if I look at what it is that the argument's over, it's usually something pretty insignificant that in the big picture, it doesn't matter at all. It's something in the past that now I'm trying to place a label of blame on one person or another. And that's not serving anything. So asking what is really important is a crucial part to discovering the stories that we tell ourselves and how we want to shift them to live a life of more joy, more happiness, and better relationships. So that's my new goal. That's what I'm working on right now, is asking what's really important. Where do I want to put my attention and my focus? Now tonight, with what we put together for the stories that we tell ourselves, it's a lot of fun. I hope you get something out of it. And really, just sit back and enjoy. Have a great night, and hopefully we'll see you on Thursday.
How many times a day do we talk ourselves out of doing something that we know we're totally capable of, know that we totally should do, know that we totally can do? In fact, most of these things are really easy, but we talk ourselves out of it because we have this crazy game going on in our head where we have all of these thoughts that tell us that we're not good enough, we're not lovable enough, we're not worthy, we shouldn't, we can't. If we do it, we might fail. The fear of this failure, the fear of what if I try, what if it doesn't work, is so great that it actually stops us from doing these things. And this is absolute freaking batshit crazy, and yet we all have it. It happens for every single one of us, whether we think it doesn't or not. This is the monkey mind that goes on in our head, in our thoughts, on a regular basis. It's crazy. And that is our common calamity, what are we calling it? And that is our common quandary this week. The story that I tell myself. What am I telling myself on a regular basis that is creating my reality, is creating my experience? If I think I'm not good enough, well, I'm believing I'm not good enough, then I'm not going to do it. I don't even know I'm having the thoughts a lot of the time, right? That's how this works. It's this subconscious game that gets played in our own minds. We have these thoughts that, man, if I'm not good enough and I try this thing and it fails, that's going to be like the worst thing ever. Everybody's going to know. Everyone's going to see me for what I really am. And so I'm just not even going to try. And it sounds like this should be played out on this huge scale. Like I'm not going to start this new business because it might fail. But this is on crazy simple stuff. I'm not going to go write this email today because somebody might see me for what I really am if I write the wrong thing. Or I'm not going to go do this simple task. And then these things snowball and pile up, and now we have this ongoing list of things that, well, I can't do this and I can't do that because we've talked ourselves out of it. And so this week, we're asking that we pay attention to the story that I'm telling myself. In this moment, what is the story I'm telling myself? Because so much of this is unrecognized behavior, unrecognized patterns, things we learned and picked up a long time ago that we've just kept with us, that these little nagging beliefs that say, you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you're not lovable enough, you're not talented enough, whatever it is, any of those super limiting beliefs that we don't necessarily even know we have, just constantly chatting in our thoughts, behind our thoughts, in our subconscious, saying, nope, not this time, not that one. I think the craziest part about this, and the one thing that I hope everybody can take away from this today, is that we so believe these thoughts and ideas to be true. We've thought them for so long. We've held these beliefs for so long. We actually think it's true. We actually think that if I go out and try this thing and it fails, I might be exposed, or I'm really not actually good enough to go do this thing, or whatever the belief is. But here's the crazy thing. Standing here and doing nothing is just as exposing as going and failing. It might actually be more exposing, because when we're standing here not doing anything, if anyone were actually looking, which they're not, because they're all too concerned with having these same thoughts also, by the way. So no one's actually looking, so don't really care what they think. But if anyone were actually looking, they see us standing here not doing anything, and that is way more debilitating than actually going out and trying and failing. What happens when we go out and try and fail is we learn one more way that it doesn't work. So that gets us one step closer to how it does work. Now we know what the quandary is this week. Now we need to find out what to do with it. So next up is our solution of the week, where you get to find out what to do about these things.
So during this time, I'm sure we've all had an opportunity to watch a whole lot of TV, if that's your thing. And it got me to thinking. We were talking about the stories that we tell ourselves. It's kind of like watching a really good show, and we've all done it. We've been so immersed in this show, and we've been so focused. It's been so riveting, and it's had our attention so intensely focused on it that we find ourselves thinking that we're a part of the show, we're a character in the show. We're just so engrossed in it. And that's kind of like how it is with the stories that we tell ourselves. Whatever that may be, they may be stories of fear, or stories of anxiety, or stories of lack or limitation, any of those stories that we tell ourselves. We become so engrossed in them that we actually believe that it's reality, it's who we are. And so the opportunity is to hit pause and really understand that these are just stories. These are just thoughts in our heads. They're emotions that we're having. They're not who we are. So if we're able to create some separation between us and the TV show of our mind, we can become the observer and not the actor. We're able to step back a little bit and realize, those are just some limiting thoughts. I'm not limited. Or those are just anxious thoughts. I'm at peace at my core. And the more and more that we get separation from this story, the more that we can turn to those things, turn to the truth of who we are, that we are whole, that we're perfect, that we're complete, that we are the individualized expression of the divine. And we're none of these things that sometimes we associate ourselves with, or we're none of these things that we sometimes think that we are. We always say that to be very careful what you put after the I am statements. I am sad, I am depressed, I am anxious. but instead we are individuals having these experiences. And the more and more that we can see it that way, the more we can step back from these experiences, these emotions, these stressors, the things that sometimes bog us down, the more that we can step back from that and really look at who and what we are. And then that is the opportunity to not get caught up in the story that we're telling ourselves, or even to be aware that these are just stories that we're telling ourselves. They're not actually reality in any way. They're these things that we've created in our minds. Because we are so powerful. We create these amazing stories, and sometimes we create not so amazing stories. But the opportunity is that we have the power to choose. We have the power to step back. We have the power to press pause. And we have the power to create the show we really want to live. So that's our opportunity for this week.
Hey there, we aren't quite done yet, but we wanted to take a moment to thank you. We are grateful for all of your support. Thank you so much for being here and watching with us. It is truly a pleasure to put all of this together and bring you some ancient wisdom and inspiration. If you feel the call to pay it forward, we welcome your gifts. You can always text a donation to 616-207-0007, including the keyword SEC. More details on our website.
This is the tool of the week, and I have to be honest, this is the week I've been waiting for all month. I enjoyed talking about the challenge and the solution, or the opportunity rather, but the tool of the week, well, that's kind of my thing, is I really enjoy life hacks, little things that help us learn new skills and develop better habits. So let's get into it. Our story for this week is the things that we tell ourselves, the things in our mind that can either serve us and lead us to a better way of being, or it can be things that don't serve us, that lead us to thinking negatively about ourselves or about our situations and failing to see that silver lining. There's always stories that we're telling ourselves. Let's choose ones that lead us into a more empowering and really enjoyable place to be. Now, this first life hack that I did, it is a rubber band on my wrist. I did this for the first time about 12 years ago, and I did it for over a year straight. The reason I did it for so long is because when you start a new habit, you probably experience this. We do really well for a week, maybe even for 2 weeks, but slowly but surely we start to forget and fade, and then we realize all of a sudden we're back in that same spot we were before we started in the first place. This was something that kept me going every day for a year. So the deal is, I was waiting tables and I was telling myself stories about the way that people would treat me, or bad tips. Any little thing, I was taking it the wrong way. I was taking things personal. And I knew that this was not leading me to a place of more happiness and enjoyment. So every time I caught myself going down that path, I snapped the rubber band. And that was my reminder to, oh yeah, shift my story into something that's going to help me feel better about myself and about the situation. And it didn't take too long. I mean, granted, I did it for over a year, but that was replacing years, decades of thinking in a way that was causing harm to myself. So really, a year, it was worth it to get rid of 30 years worth of habit. And I found myself in a much better place, the way I felt about others, my job, everything. So it was worth it. Now, if stinging your wrist a little bit isn't the ideal way, well, Reverend Ryan brought up one that's just a ring. Wear a ring on your finger, or a spinner ring, and every time you want to change your thought process, turn it one time. It does the same thing. It's a physical stimulant in your brain that just creates more ways to remember your new process. That's it. Works pretty well. Now, this other tool is very similar, and all it is a rock. I would keep a rock in my pocket, and every day when I get up before Leaving the house, I would put it in my pocket, and that would be my reminder. I'm telling myself a new story today. So I'm going to be on the lookout for when I find myself telling the old story. And throughout the day, you reach into your phone or your pocket to get your phone. You find the rock. It reminds you. Later, you get your keys. It reminds you. Every time you see it, it's one more reminder of what shift in your life you are creating. And that's helpful. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is your phone. Set an alarm clock that goes off every day at a certain time. And when it goes off, read what the alarm says. Whatever it is, change your story, it may say. And that's your reminder. It shifts you in. Your brain starts to expect that coming. All these little things, if you put them all three together, you're onto something, because you're going to be constantly reminded of what your new habit and process is. It's a really powerful way to live, and then changes your story. And that changes everything. So I hope that one of these resonate with you. I hope you give it a try if there's something in your life that you would like to shift, especially the story that we tell ourselves. That's the tool of the week.
Thank you for being here, and an even bigger thank you for watching it to the end. If you'd like to take an even deeper dive, join us in conversation on Thursday for The Gathering. We'll explore this week's topic, answer some questions, and just be in community with each other. And so far, this experience has been absolutely amazing. While you're here, click like or share, or even join our Facebook community so you can stay connected with everyone and what's going on with the SEC. The Soul Evolution Collaborative is supported and made possible by people just like you. So if you would like to help financially support this mission, you can text or give online. And there's more information on how to do that on soulevolutioncollaborative.org. All donations are tax deductible and always appreciated. To stay up to date, visit the SEC website at soulevolutioncollaborative.org to sign up for the email news and inspiration. We'll see some of you here on Thursday night, and for everyone else, we'll see you next week.